as we do at the start of every series, it's time to do a SWOT. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Michael will do England. This is what I think India can look forward to. Let's start with India's strengths. Number one, I think there's pedigree in batting. And we're going to analyze batting a little more closely as we go along. But there's pedigree in batting. There's class around there. There's a lot of experience around there. India bat fairly deep. If India do play the balance that I think they will, with both Ashwin and Jadeja in there, then with Pant looking good at 6, then you're batting down to 8. Not many teams can speak about that kind of pedigree batting all the way down to number 8. Jadeja averages 41. Ashwin has just started to rediscover his batting. So I think batting down to number 8 is a definite plus. There's a lot of pluses around the bowling. It's a long time since India has had so much class in their bowling. I know Bumrah's going through a little blip, but he's far too good a bowler to let that continue for too long. Ishant Sharma is bowling as well as he ever has. Mohammad Shami will always bowl well in England. Mohammad Siraj is a wonderful option in that one warm-up game. Umesh Yadav bowled very well. And every time he gets the opportunity, Shardul Thakur just comes in and delivers 100%. But there's a couple more reasons that I'm more excited about the bowling. The seam swing bowling is in pretty safe hands, but I think the spin is looking really good. Ashwin and Jadeja are the two best spin bowlers in these conditions. Take a look at the numbers then for Ashwin and Jadeja, and we're looking in recent past. Jadeja 7 matches, 24 wickets at 27. Ashwin 12 matches, 43 wickets at 28. We're looking only Sena countries. These are the two best bowlers in Sena countries when it comes to spin. Now there's one other factor. Post 2018, and people our statsman threw up some very interesting numbers. Let's see what happens when test matches start getting played in August and September. So look at numbers for spin bowling in June and July, and look at numbers for spin bowling in August and September. Now in June and July, 9 test matches, they only bowled 430 overs or so, 33 wickets at 43 per wicket and a wicket every 13 overs. Get into August and September, you've had 13 test matches. Already you started to bowl over 1,000 overs, but 102 wickets at 34 and a strike rate of 64. I'm also very enthused by Ravichandran Ashwin's figures. I saw him bowl in the second innings in that one county game that he played, but all was turning too much to be honest, but he was running through batsmen. He's a very different bowler from the Ashwin we knew before 2017, and we lamented the fact that he didn't do as well overseas post 2018. His numbers in Sena countries are magnificent. So those are the strengths. Now let's look at the weaknesses. I didn't think I'd say it once. And while I do admit that there's pedigree in the batting, that's what I said right up front. I think we need to look a little closer because there are definite issues with India's batting. Let's look at what India's batsmen do in Sena countries. What have we been doing since the end of 2017? Since the tour of South Africa started in 2018, there's been a tour of England, one to New Zealand, one to South Africa, 2 to Australia. Enough data points in there. Virat Kohli is doing well. He's averaging 43. Cheteshwar Pujara 38, Rishabh Pant 40, Ravindra Jadeja 41, but the others are all under 30. And that is definitely an issue because that includes the top 2. When they set the base, it becomes easier for everybody else to follow. It's a little more worrisome when you start to look closer into those numbers. Now look at the numbers for Virat Kohli. 2018 was a magnificent year for Virat Kohli. I mean, he played 2 or 3 innings that were once in lifetime innings for lesser players. And he averaged 51 in 2018, looked magnificent. Now coming into 2019, I agree there's not enough data points because in 2018, those numbers that you're looking at, there were 22 innings there. Thereafter, 9 innings at 21.77 with just that 150. As I said, not a large enough sample size. It's not yet worrisome, but this is Virat Kohli we are talking about. You want him to come strongly back. What's interesting too is that in quite a few of these innings, he's played a lot of deliveries, he's done all the hard work, but not converted into a big score. So I'm looking out very closely for Virat Kohli here. Now look at Cheteshwar Pujara, average 38. That's all right for number 3 in away countries. But you take away Australia where he does very well. The Kookaburra ball, the moment it gets a little soft, he hangs in there when the going is tough, and then starts to pitch in later on in the innings. But what happens in non-Australia countries? You look at South Africa, you look at New Zealand, and you look at England, and see what the numbers are saying. 21 test matches, average of 27.35. 10 test matches in England, 27.5. 4 in New Zealand, 20. The ball is swinging around. There's the odd issue that does crop up with Pujara. And increasingly these days, more than the one that is coming in, is the outside edge that is getting him out. Then Ajinkya Rahane. When the going gets tough, you want Rahane in your side. Always seems to do well in tougher overseas conditions. Post 2018, there's been a change though. He averages well in India, he's averaging about 42. But look what happens when you go away in these countries that we talked about. South Africa, England, New Zealand, and Australia. And Ajinkya Rahane, 33 innings at 29.81. So this is the core of your batting, number 3, number 4, and number 5. How can they do well? If the openers start to blunt the new ball. The openers blunt the new ball, becomes a lot easier for 3, 4, 5. There's a genuine problem there. India's openers are just not scoring enough runs or staying in long enough. Post 2011, every time we bring you this number, the last century partnership in these regions came in 2011. And you look at some of the averages in recent times, in general, averaging less than 20 or around 20 or thereafter. They're not protecting the middle order. So you really want Rohit Sharma and Mayank Agarwal or Prithvi Shaw, whoever it is, to blunt the new ball and then make it easier for everybody else. So are the weaknesses looking a little more potent than, a little more dangerous than the strengths? Well, there's opportunities too. And the opportunity is you're playing England, and England's not a great batting side. Typically, you expect teams in home batting conditions to do well. England are number 8 out of 9 countries on that front. They only average 32.46 in 21 test matches at home. But look closer into those numbers. The best batting average there is Ben Stokes. He's been the best batsman over the last 2 or 3 years, and he's not playing. Joe Root has been very iffy in recent times. He produced a couple of good innings, but his average doesn't justify the stature with which a lot of us hold Joe Root in. A lot of their batsmen seem to be doing just enough to stay in the side, but not enough to win them matches. So they've got inexperienced players still at 1, 2, 3, and 5. Down the order, you start with Butler 6, Curran 7, and you start to find a tail that wags. But if India's bowling does well, I anticipate that they might have enough to go through the lower half this time. So I think England's batting is a problem. England's bowling is in very good hands. Anderson's just going through a little blip, just through a little downer. Last 8 home games, 19 wickets. His strike rate is 76 though. But Anderson's a very good bowler. I just don't know whether he's in the late evening of his career. This test series will tell you why. Now, threats. India's record in England is very, very ordinary. You look at numbers from 2011, the last 3 series, 14 test matches, India lost 11, just won 2. 2-11 tells you that India do not play too well in England. I can understand 2011. 2011 was the fading of the light of the big 4, big 5, but 2014, 2018 was very, very disappointing indeed. So that is an issue. But as always, we'll all end with a little bit of a smile. There's a pattern developing. Now, patterns don't win you test matches, let me be very clear. But there's a pattern developing. India win in 71, lose in 74, lose in 79, lose in 82. That's 3 test matches, win in 86. Then India lose in 92 and 96, in 2002. That's three test series. They win again in 2007. Then 3 series, 11, 14, 18. As I said, patterns don't win you test matches, but I'm reasonably optimistic about this India side if they can get the top order going.